right, you're listening to Hard Talk Radio. I'm your host, MrDeadman. Tonight we're talking about the Wendigo. I think I said that right. I think I said that correct. And with us on the show is D.A. Roberts. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Doing pretty good, man. It's been a while since you've been on the show. I think, a couple months ago,
About 3 months.
3 months ago. All right. So, straight from the top, for those who don't know who you are, D.A. Roberts, who are you and what do you do?
My name is D.A. Roberts. I'm an author of horror, primarily horror. I do write some sci-fi, but I'd like to do books that involve the area where I grew up, which is here in the Midwest, and I like local legends, and that just kind of evolved into doing books about cryptids. And my most recent book is called Codename Wild Hunt: The Curse of the Wendigo, and I really explore the Native American Wendigo myth.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. Now, we're going to definitely touch on that book and go deep into the Wendigo stuff. But before we do that, what is your favorite folklore? Your favorite, folklore / cryptid?
I'm probably have to go with the old standby Bigfoot. That's the one that really got me into enjoying cryptids. It's the one that I used to, always want to see one as a kid. One I've looked for camping. I'm gonna have to go with Bigfoot. I know it's tried and true, and everybody says it, but yeah, that one's the one that really got me started, and it's the one I enjoy the most.
Yeah, Bigfoot. I mean, that's the one. That's the classic right there. I hear Bigfoot, and I also hear what's the other one? The Mothman.
Yeah, Mothman. That's a creepy one too.
People really like the Mothman. He does look pretty cool. Okay, now, any particular urban legends in your area that really stand out, though, besides Bigfoot?
In my area, we've got the Ozarks Howler. It's been seen for over 100 years. Which some people think it's just a non-native big cat that got loose. Some people think it's a mutant version of existing big cats. There's lots of sightings in this area. There's also Momo the monster, which is the Missouri version of the Bigfoot, which tends to be a little more aggressive than the one in the Pacific Northwest. Let's see, trying to think of any other big ones in the area.
Momo the monster.
Momo the monster, first spotted in Louisiana, Missouri in 1972. I was 2 years old at the time, so I don't remember it, but I've been following the story since I first read about it.
Okay, when you first said Momo, I was. Are you aware of that? I guess
the Momo challenge.
The Momo challenge, the Japanese meme thing.
Yeah, the Momo the monster's been around a lot longer than that.
The Momo challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I see. It looks kind of like a. I don't know how you describe it, like a Bigfoot with a dome head or something. It looks weird. Okay.
It's more like the shoulders and head just kind of merge into one.
Right.
I think that might just been an effect of hair. I think people just probably scared and didn't describe it well. I think it's just another version of Bigfoot, to be honest.
For the comic book guys, it's like Juggernaut as the Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like there. Okay, Momo the monster. All right, jeez. Cool. All right, now let's dig into this book here. Codename Wild Hunt: The Curse of the Wendigo.
Okay.
That title alone, that sounds like, I don't know if you play video games much, but that sounds like something from Castlevania.
Well, I guess you could kind of look at it that way. Codename Wild Hunt is a military team that was put together to hunt aggressive cryptids that hunt people. And the first book of the series is called Codename Wild Hunt: Odin's Call, because the primary team is called Team Odin, and it was about their first mission together as a team. But as the series evolves, there's going to be a lot more diverse, more cryptids. There, probably see a chupacabra or two. Nice. It's going to involve much more than just Bigfoot or the Wendigo. But the second one, I wanted to kick it off with a bang, and I always knew the Wendigo was considered one of the most dangerous of the cryptids, so I tackled that one.
Now, this is a totally fictional military unit?
I've been told by some people that teams like that do exist. That the government has teams that go in when people go missing. And if you read some of the Bigfoot accounts, especially accounts dealing with the Dogman, the one I'm specifically going to point out is the Beast of LBL, or the Beast of Land Between the Lakes. Supposedly back in the early 80s, a family was butchered by a Dogman, and a specialized team came in and dealt with the creature. And they say there's even creatures like that still there to this day. And I've driven through the Land Between the Lakes of the area, and I tell you, that is one creepy area after dark. There's very few places that give me the heebie-jeebies, because I'm one of those guys that runs toward crap. But that area really kind of creeped me out. It was one of those I was like, yeah, I'm keeping the windows up and my hand on my pistol.
Yeah. And you're someone who's accustomed to fear. I mean, I don't know if you want to go into your if you in your, I guess, your day job or whatever. But we spoke about that before. But you're someone who is not afraid to run into danger, run towards danger. You know.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wired differently. I've always been that way, even as a kid. My mother used to say I would blunder in where angels feared to tread. Most of my career has been spent in law enforcement, one uniform capacity or another.
Right.
3.5 years on the riot team, deputy sheriff, patrol officer. I've been there, done that, and got a whole closet full of T-shirts. And I could tell you some stories of stuff that's happened with that and as well, but it's just one of those things where you get so used to being the one that handles those situations. When you encounter something that you're not sure what it is, it kind of, really sets the radar off. You're not sure what it was.
Right. Give me one moment. I'm going to get to real fast.
Okay.
We'll go fill the time. What is your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie? Boy, it'd be tough to limit that to just one. I'd say right off the top of my head, one that's going to be easily in the top 5, possibly the top 1. Have you ever seen a movie called The Dog Soldiers? It's set in Scotland. It's about werewolves. Fantastic movie. The werewolf effects are great. Think of this movie because of the way these things look, and it just is so menacing, and they're very intelligent. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, it was made, like I said, it's a British film made in Scotland. It's just a fantastic movie. It's called The Dog Soldiers.
Good movie.
Oh yeah, great movie.
That is. I'm trying to decide Gentleman Jack or Grange Stone. I'm going to go with Gentleman Jack to here tonight. Gentleman Jack on the rocks.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So this
I might have to join you. I've got some 12-year-old Dalmore over here behind me.
Oh, wow. That sounds good. That's nice. Much better than Gentleman Jack. But yeah.
I love a good scotch.
Oh. But okay. I really want to know about that military unit because that seems so intriguing. If there's actually a military unit that searches like for cryptids and stuff, that's.
If you peruse or you spend much time digging through Bigfoot encounters, and I've spent a lot of time listening to YouTube channels with Bigfoot encounters, reading, researching online, even talking to people that have had their own, you'll run into the occasional encounter where they talk about getting pushed out of the area by people that claim that they're with the Forestry Service or whatever, and then they look back as they're leaving and they see people in military uniforms with weapons going out looking for whatever it was they saw. So I believe that those cryptids are out there, and I believe there are teams that hunt them.
These are military units deployed on like U.S. soil, like.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we're not talking about like National Guard or anything like that, or.
They would have to be highly specialized.
Yeah.
You couldn't take your average soldier who's trained to say deal with a human threat and just thrust them into a situation with something out of their nightmare and expect them to be able to handle it. You'd have to specifically train these guys so they wouldn't freak out, wouldn't run, or be terrified in the face of an unknown enemy like that. Right. These have got to be a highly specialized, highly trained team.
So, I mean, you working on this series that you've been working on how long have you been working on it?
That's the second book out. We started the series. Actually, we began the concept for the series back around February, and then fleshed it out and started doing manuscripts. So it's less than a year old.
Less than a year old, but still you're working on it.
Exactly.
During that duration, I mean, have you received anything that leads you to believe that this military unit does exist? Something that you could
I've
tell
had
me or
a
tell
couple of people
tell the
contact
audience?
me through Facebook. One guy, all he would say was, I was closer to right than I know." And then another friend of mine, who asked to not be named, said a relative of his is retired military and said I was pretty close to the mark.
Oh wow, this is
And
fascinating
it
stuff. It is. I
and
mean,
it was all just stuff that I looked at what we publicly have and what we're publicly admit and went, well, kind of like how Tom Clancy did. He'd say, well,
yeah.
if they admit we can do this, I bet we can do this. And I guess I got a little closer than I expected.
Anything that you wish you could tell me, but you can't because they might silence you.
Exactly. Get a
Okay.
knock on the door before the interview's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. And it's not the FBI. No,
No.
no, 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 no. These guys are gonna make you disappear. Your family is gonna disappear. All right, all right. So the Wendigo. Why the Wendigo?
Well, I find the Wendigo fascinating. It's primordial. It's basic. It represents one of our most deepest fears as humans. I mean, cannibalism. That's a huge taboo, and it delves into the absolute terror of what would happen in that situation where you're forced to eat another person or they're eating you. It's just the ultimate horror skin crawl for civilized humans. I mean, the thought of eating another person is just absolutely appalling. But that's what the Wendigo is. It's the spirit of hunger. It's a creature of famine.
Now it's something that most people shouldn't want, but some people seem to like it. They become like serial killers and like cannibals that way. But now, when you say this thing is like primordial, like what do you mean by that? Like it's a
It's a force of nature.
force of
Uh,
nature.
it's it's something older than modern man. It dates back to the days when we literally were hunkered around the fire trying to stay warm in the wintertime. It's something that throws back to our primitive ancestors, and back to the beginning of recorded time.
So it could be like an essence, and also like like an essence, I guess, like embodied. Because like when you Google it, when you look for it, you see, what looks like I guess like a humanoid kind of deer thing. I don't know how you describe it really, but when
Well, there's a couple of different ways. I mean, some of the Native American lore describe it as being skeletal with bone showing through in some places, with a deer-like skull face with antlers and huge teeth. And then the others just refer to it as an extremely gaunt person, pale skin, but still retaining some vestiges of humanity.
okay.
So there's more than one version of the legend.
Oh, and that's gonna be interesting too because I want to go into the origin. Like, what can you tell me? What can you tell me about the origin of the Wendigo?
It's a Native American legend, and it exists in numerous tribes. I don't think it exists in as many as say Bigfoot does, because pretty much every tribe has their own version, their own word for Bigfoot, describing a
Right.
creature that is very much the same. But it's generally confined to the very cold reaches of the north, up Great Lakes and above, the Chippewa, the Ojibwe, a lot of the Native Americans in that area that were the colder climes, even to a lesser extent the Lakota and the Sioux.
And see, the thing I want to talk about there is that it's interesting how all these different Native American tribes have a version of Bigfoot. Like they saw something. I don't know
Oh yeah,
if it's still roaming around or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. But if everybody has that same story, there must be something to that, right? But
exactly. Even
so
tribes that never had contact with each other describe the same creature.
that's important. They never had contact. They couldn't share the story. They couldn't share the myth, but somehow they knew about it. Somehow they knew about it. Now, these other tribes that have like, I guess they helped. I don't know if you want to say form or develop the myth behind the Wendigo, but or certain regions. I guess like the north, or northeast, northwest.
Well, there's even modern times there's still people that are claiming,
I'm sorry.
and they all describe a creature that comes during the cold months, that the lean times. In fact, it wasn't even that long ago that there was a man executed for cannibalism, for accused of being a Wendigo in Canada. I think it was in the late 1800s. I'd have to look the guy's name up again. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was a Native American that had eaten his family, and he was found guilty and I believe hung.
Mr.
But
Runner? Is the name
I'm
Runner
sorry?
or Swimmer? What was the name?
Yeah. I'd have to Google it. I can't think of
Man.
it.
Could have sworn it was like Runner or Swimmer or something.
I think it was maybe Swift Runner.
Swift Runner. Not a swimmer, but Swift Runner. Yeah, he murdered his family and ate them.
Yeah.
And what's weird about that is he wasn't that far away from food. Like, he didn't
No.
have to do that for
It
sustenance.
was within a day's walk of a trading post.
Yeah. He could have just, got food that way. But no, he killed his wife, his
And
kids,
children.
and ate them.
And I believe his mother-in-law too. I think it was that said that was.
Jeez. Man. And from what I understand, the authorities knew something was up when everyone was disappearing. He claimed that,
Said they'd starved to death, but he was robust and healthy. He wasn't. He didn't look like he'd missed a meal.
yes, they starved to death, but I didn't. yes.
Exactly. Yeah, they died, but I'm doing good.
Yeah.
No, I can't take you for granted.
Right. Well, I guess you could say, because when they, according to the report I looked at, it looked like when they found the campsite, whatever, the remains, like it was down to the bone. Like, this guy ate everything.
They even cracked the bones to get the marrow.
Yeah. So this guy, Swift Runner, as bad as it is to eat your own family, and I don't support that. I gotta condemn that. He didn't waste anything.
Waste not, want not, I suppose.
Yes. There's a silver lining to everything, I guess. on a lighter note, do you know what a furry is?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Is a Wendigo a furry?
I wouldn't think so.
No, I wouldn't think so either.
I wouldn't think it would fall into that category. I think
Right.
this would be something out of a nightmare, but I think the furries would be a different type of nightmare.
They are a different type of nightmare, but you give them a chance, they'll turn that thing into another kind of a nightmare, an abomination.
That's a fact.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, because I hear that they're trying to claim werewolves as furries. I'm like, no, guys, you're not getting that.
No, definitely not.
Okay. Now, what are some other interesting facets about the myth of the Wendigo?
Well, there as many different tribes as have lore about it. They each have different ways to kill it.
Wow.
Supposedly, some can be killed with silver weapons. Some say it has to be a silver knife that's been blessed by a shaman. Others say that you have to remove the heart and burn the body separately, and the ashes have to be distributed and buried in a certain ritual. There's about a dozen different ways that say that you can kill one. Some just say with fire. But there's so much lore on it. Some of it's even conflicting. So if you were to have a Wendigo encounter, you just basically have to run the gamut of all of them until you figured out what did it. Me personally, I'm going to go with a lot of lead.
Yeah. Gonna go with the gun first, of course.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with every round I've got and go from there.
Yeah, I think. Hey, I think that'll work. It's I mean, you just shoot right into the body, shoot right into the heart, shoot for the head. See what takes it down.
Keep trying.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious though where all these different, I guess, variations came from. Like why so different? Some.
I think some of it may have been regional. Some of it may have been adding in elements of other things. There's a lot of overlap between Wendigo and Skinwalker lore. That they think Wendigo may be a type of Skinwalker. So there's some overlap with some of the legends there. But all in all, everyone agrees that it's an evil spirit that that is desiring human flesh. It consumes flesh. It's the spirit of hunger, the spirit of starvation.
Now, from what I understand, though, a Wendigo and a Skinwalker are like different things.
Well, skinwalkers can assume any shape. Your classic skinwalker tales, they could take in any shape that they want, and I suppose that could even include a Wendigo. But it's the base of it is it's somebody that does something vile and evil and is transformed into this creature. There's the similarities there both in Skinwalker and the Wendigo. The original legends stated of the Wendigo that a person would be cursed to become a Wendigo if they had met lean times in the dead of winter, and because they didn't have anything else, they ate human flesh, and they would be cursed to always be hungry, to become this creature, this creature of famine, this creature that constantly, the more it ate, the bigger it got, but it never was full. It was always starving, always ravenous for more human flesh. And again, the more it ate, the bigger it got. And then there are others that talk about how the Wendigo was a spirit that could possess somebody.
Oh,
In the
wow.
case of the Swift Runner case, where he was just a normal guy that one day just snapped. There's another modern example. They call it Wendigo psychosis.
Wendigo
And,
psychosis, yeah.
where people just go crazy and start eating people. There's a certain amount of lore out there and dialogue on it. If you want to compare Jeffrey Dahmer, say Jeffrey Dahmer had Wendigo psychosis. There's some people that say the Hannibal Lecter from the Thomas Harris books would have been a candidate for Wendigo psychosis. It's the craving of human flesh, and
Gotcha.
it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's one of those things that, if you look at a modern psychology book and it mentions Wendigo psychosis, there's something to it. I mean, there's more to it than just it happening in isolated and single cases. It's happened enough times that they've got a psychosis named after it.
Right. And something's definitely going on there where they get that desire to go for human flesh.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. I don't know how you just get that. I mean, when Alex Jones says he's trying to he's sizing up his neighbors to eat them because he's prepared for the food shortage. Does that mean he's going into Wendigo psychosis, or is he just trying to be
Maybe.
pragmatic?
The cannibal tribes of Papua New Guinea used to refer to it as long pig. Supposedly human tastes a lot like pork.
Hey, that's interesting. I heard that too.
It's a little disturbing because I like a good pork chop.
Joshua Dalton said, "Dragonfire shotgun shells. That would take care. That would take care of the fire. That would.
That certainly would do it. I mean, dragon's breath rounds. They can send out a cone of incendiary, burning magnesium about 60 feet, maybe a little longer depending on any obstructions. So if you're within 40, 50 feet, you're going to completely immolate something like that. So that might do the trick.
You fired one in real life?
I also, yes, I have fired dragon's breath rounds. They're a hoot. I set a big pile of trash on fire with one time. It was kind of cool. They do look like a dragon breathing fire from the end of the shotgun.
Man,
if you ever get a chance go on YouTube, there's videos of people doing it at night. It's a really cool video to watch. It looks like a breath weapon, like a cone of fire coming out.
Dude, that looks so cool. I mean, it just seems really cool to have that as like a shotgun, just shoot fire.
Yeah, I wouldn't shoot very many unless you don't like your shotgun very much.
Right? It has to tear it up.
Yeah, it's you're running incendiaries through it. I mean, it's going to carbon it up pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So after you fire a couple of rounds to it, you're going to want to break it down and thoroughly clean it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, and looking at this, looks like when you said the Wendigo is like an old thing, like an ancient thing.
Mm-hmm.
Though this is not that long ago, really. 1661. Apparently, the Jesuits,
Mm-hmm.
I guess when they're traveling, when they're exploring, there's I guess a note from what they found. The people they were trying to meet all became like cannibals or whatever, and they described this situation where it's like the guys are going to meet like the Native Americans, in the land. They just became like, I don't know, like cannibals, like feasting on each other, and they won't stop. that won't stop. Like
That's the nature of the Wendigo. It's once the spirit of the Wendigo takes over, it's insatiable. It's unstoppable. No amount of flesh they consume will ever satisfy their hunger. They just continue to waste away to this gaunt, oftentimes seeing bone through the skin, creature that's constantly hungry yet constantly ravenous for human flesh.
Man, I would not want to get in that. Not at all. So
I'll pass myself. I would I like to write about them. I don't know that I'd want to meet one.
right. Now, how has all this information about the lore of the Wendigo, how has it helped your book?
Well, I did a lot of research into the Wendigo when I was doing this book, the Codename Wild Hunt, and that, again, second in the series. But I wanted to give it as much true to the lore as I could, while still having the creative license to tell the story I wanted to tell. So I used as much of the lore, and it showed that the characters were having to try different things because not everything worked. Not the way that one legend said or another. They had to fight fire with fire, and they had to adapt.
Right.
So the story is about not just as much of them going out to fight a monster, but them going after the unknown and having to evolve their tactics as they fight.
Okay. That's pretty cool right there. I like how you did that. So the different aspects of the myths, especially how the different variations of how to take down a Wendigo, you use that into your story.
Absolutely.
Now, were there any challenges or hurdles?
Well, there's always hurdles when you're writing any book. I've always been of the philosophy, and I tell this to authors that people will ask me, hey, want to get your advice. What do you do? What do you do in this situation? And I'm always more than willing to give the benefit of my what I know. I will share my knowledge with anybody. And they always ask me, what's the best advice you can give? And I said, and it's always been write what you know. And I can write the military and the law enforcement background because I have that background. I know the tactics. I know the lingo. I know the men and women in uniform. I've been all my adult life around them. So I know how they click, how they talk, how they speak to each other. But there are times when I'll run into a situation like, okay, this guy took a round to the chest. He's got a sucking chest wound. How do I treat it? And at that point, I'll contact people that have far more experience than I do. I've got friends that were combat medics. I've got a couple of friends that were into the special forces community. I know I've got a really eclectic group of friends, you might say. So I can ask a lot of questions from people that I may not know the answer myself, but I can go to an expert in the field.
And it's good to have that sort of resource right there.
Absolutely.
Hey, and not all of us do. Not everyone does, and that's very valuable. That's very valuable. Now, what are certain things that really surprised you though? Like, what are certain things that you thought you knew, but you found out that you didn't really know as well as you thought?
Well, some of the tech, like modern technology, because my time in the service was back in the late 80s, early 90s. So that was a long time ago. So a lot of the technology has evolved considerably since I was in. So I had to have to go to the experts on that. Did a lot of research online. But some of the bigger challenges are just making sure you keep the pacing going, making sure you don't let the action slow down, making sure you keep the tension high. Right. You don't want the monsters to be killed too easily. You don't want them to be too hard to kill, because you tend to burn through your background characters when the monster's impossible to kill. Mm-hmm. So it's a balancing act. Any good story is a tightrope walk. You want the characters to be strong, but you don't want them to be a Mary Sue or a Marty Stu character.
Right. You definitely don't want that.
9 feet tall. Right. You don't want to do that. You want the characters to be human. So it's a tightrope walk. You want to give the characters the advantages they need without making them superhuman, and at the same time make them fallible, but not so fallible they're an idiot.
Right. You want them to be relatable. You want people to
exactly.
God, a Mary Sue characters. You see them quite a bit. That one character that can do everything. Every situation, it can just overcome.
Everybody loves them. They're better at everybody's job than they are. Yeah, unfortunately, that trope exists for a reason because there are people that do that. Um, I, uh, I hope I don't fall into that trap. I do tend to write larger than life characters, but I've also based a lot of those characters on people I know.
Yeah.
Um, People I know that were really like that. I've got a friend. In fact, he's the guy I based Daniel Clark, the main character,
Okay.
in Codename Wild Hunt. He's the guy I based Daniel Clark on, and I would swear this guy was born with a pistol in his hand.
Damn.
I'm a good shot, and he makes me look like a rank amateur. He
damn.
can ring steel with a pistol at distances I wouldn't think you could hit a target with it.
Oh shit!
I know I can't.
Like how far?
He's surgical.
How far are we talking about?
I've seen him ring dinner plate size steel targets consistently at 100 yards with a pistol.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah,
It's a hell of a shot with an open
100
sight
yards?
pistol.
Yeah. Man.
I wear bifocals, so anything beyond 25 yards, and I'm like, I'm not even sure if I see it.
Oh, I was to say, writing over the top characters. I mean, we've seen that. Even in action movies. You have that one guy. You just name an action movie where you have the guy who pretty much does everything, kick ass, whatever. But as long as you have it to where he gets his ass kicked a lot of times in the beginning and has to overcome that, then that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of a challenge there, right? When Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man,
Yeah,
he was a badass in the beginning, but when he got into the new
got
world,
taken down a few pegs and then had to build back up.
yeah, it was quite interesting.
I try to write characters that are like you said, larger than life, are take charge characters, but they're also human and they get hurt a lot. I think if the characters were real, they'd probably hate me because I put them through hell.
Now, in this book, is there one Wendigo or two Wendigos? Is it like a whole Wendigo family?
I don't want to give away too much. They go in expecting one and run into a hell of a lot more than they expected.
Oh shit. Okay. And is it tied to a specific tribe, or is that like kind of more loose?
Well, some of the characters in my series are Lakota Sioux.
Oh, okay.
And then they run into an Ojibwe shaman in this book, and she ends up helping them a lot.
Ah, she.
Without her, they probably wouldn't have made it.
Is there a romantic interest in this book as well?
I really don't do a whole lot of romance in my books. I will suggest it, allude to it, but I really don't really do a whole lot of romance.
Right.
She ends up becoming close to one of the characters.
Right.
I won't say who. I want people to read it and be surprised.
Yeah. I get you on that one. Now, without giving too much away, is there something? Let's say someone right now is on the fence about whether or not to get this book because it's out now, right? The book is out right now.
Yeah,
it's available.
Yeah, it came out last Monday actually.
Last Monday. Okay, it's on Amazon. People can buy it.
Amazon, or you can find it on my website as well, daroberts.net.
Okay, so for those that were on the fence, they're like, I don't know. Like, what could you tell them? Is there something you could tease them about in the book or something? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, you can read in the beginning of that chapter, beginning of the book, there's a quote in there. I was contacted by a former Naval Special Operations officer, former Navy SEAL named Clint Bruce. You can Google him. He's a big deal, former SEAL, former NFL player. He contacted me personally to tell me how much he enjoyed the Wild Hunt books, and he had input on this one. I picked his brain for a lot of the details that went into Wendigo, and he's actually going to give me some help on the next book of the Wild Hunt series, which will be dealing with an underwater element. So I'll be going directly to a Navy SEAL for the underwater elements. But you can Google Clint Bruce. He's a heck of a guy. He contacted me out of the blue through LinkedIn because he enjoyed the books, and we've actually been talked quite a couple times on the phone.
Look at that. So
turns out he's a great guy.
So he's
been a huge help.
You are definitely reaching your audience here. I mean, you're getting military guys that come contact you. They've read the book, they like it, they want to contact you and help you out with it. I take it that he's probably going to be a beta reader. Maybe
Yes.
like a screener.
Yes,
A
definitely.
fact checker. Yeah, that sounds good for quality control. That's important because people know when you're faking it. They're like, okay,
Absolutely.
especially those
So
military guys.
if if I've got a guy that's an Annapolis graduate, uh, Naval Special Forces. He was an officer in the Naval Special Forces, so he's led teams like that. When I got a guy that tells me I'm doing something, a guy like that tell me I'm doing it right, I've hit something. He also told me that in the books I have something that I just created
Oh man.
called the mimic units, which are modular units that they can deploy to create basically a mobile fire base. And I just made it up. Thought that'd be a great detail, something they can have. And he told me that I actually hit pretty close to home with some real tech that they do have. I
Oh
was like,
wow,
oh wow, that's kind of cool.
man. We have Navy SEAL contacting you, letting you know, hey, you're right. That's good. That should be on your book, like in quote, be like Navy SEAL certified or something. Fact
There's a
checked.
there's a quote from Clint in the beginning of the book. Let me go to my website real quick, and I'll just read you the quote.
Okay.
This is from Clint. It says, "I grew up fascinated by the conflict between good and evil, and that great middle between the two. I've spent most of my life in that great middle, running towards the evil, resolved to be the good it worries about when and if it sleeps. Robert's writing is like stepping on a treadmill with a mad but good scientist sitting at a DJ booth, smoking a cigar and saying, 'Let's spend a little time bouncing inside the virtuous violence setting and see what the kid does.'
Yeah.
I grew up where he writes about, and now I wonder about all those little primal nudges I felt while walking through those woods."
Ooh, nice, nice. It brought him back to when he was walking through the woods. Oh, look at that. When you're writing can do that to someone, that's power, right?
That's really the best compliment a writer can get. Uh, all the accolades aside, I don't do it for awards. I don't write because I want to be an Amazon bestseller or New York Times bestseller. I'm not saying I wouldn't be thrilled to be there. I'm saying that's not why I write it though. I write it so my readers have a visceral experience. So my readers it engages emotion, it engages feelings, and it involves the reader. And when I've reached someone on that level, when they're that involved where they're feeling what I'm feeling, that's the greatest compliment a writer can get. It's better than any award. It's better than any accolade. When you connect with your readers, that is the goal a writer should reach for.
That is true, man. That is true. Like authors could just sell like a handful of copies, but they actually get that nice feedback from someone. I don't know, someone that I don't know, someone important to them.
Exactly.
That's powerful right there. Man, it can be anything. For you, it's like a Navy SEAL guy. For someone else, it might be, I don't know, it could be like a friend, or it could be just someone out of the blue. Like, I read your book, you have no idea. It changed my perspective on things. I read your book, it really helped me out through this hard situation, mental illness or whatever. That happens.
I get messages on my Facebook, or you can look at some of the reviews that I've had on Amazon itself. But there are people that are connecting with these books and enjoying them on that level. They say that they are involved with the characters. They've been the best compliments I'm getting are people saying that they've read the books 3-4 times.
3 or 4 times, wow.
For some enjoy the stories that much that they're going over and reading them over and over again. That to me, that's the highest form of praise. That's why I do it. And it's why I hope to keep doing it for a long time. I mean, I'm 50 now, and one of my favorite writers, Cormac McCarthy, is in his mid 90s, and he's still cranking books out. So I hope to be like that.
Hey, man, you got to continue doing what you like to do. Like, especially
Exactly.
if
Chase
you
your dream.
if you love writing, like, just keep on working on it, keep on doing it. And I like that headspace right there. I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because I want to be a bestseller, not because I want to be like Stephen King or something like that. There's a lot of people who say that, but it's like, honestly, I mean, that's probably not really going to happen. Not to burst your bubble or anything, but it's like, if that's your motivation, then good luck. But if you're actually writing it because you enjoy the craft, you enjoy doing it, then then you're gonna have longevity. Then you're actually gonna stay and continue doing it and keep on churning out stuff and work on it and get finding pride in your work. Finding it
Exactly.
worthwhile.
I love being a storyteller. I love being able to share my stories with people, and I've gone to book signings and conventions where I've had people travel pretty far to come see me. I did a show in Kansas City, Missouri, and a guy drove up from Tulsa just to come see me at the show, and that's a pretty big feeling. When I'm not, it wasn't even a headliner. I mean, the headliner at the show was George R. Martin, but the guy drove up to see me, and
wow.
that was pretty impactful. I mean, it really put a smile on my face. It's knowing that my stories are reaching the audience, knowing that my stories are reaching people, and that means more to me, like I said, than any award I can hang on the wall. I'm not in it for awards. I'm in it because I love telling stories.
And that's how you're going to get, and that's why you probably already have, it sounds like, a loyal, dedicated fan base. If you wouldn't even call them fans. I mean, that word is kind of weird at times, but it's like you got people who enjoy your books, they enjoy your work.
Yeah, I look at it this way. I don't see it as having fans. I see it as having
Right.
friends.
There you go.
Because the storytelling is truly one of the most interconnected, interactive things you can do. And for me to tell a story and someone to read that story and see it, and then I get to meet that person and talk to them about how they experienced the story, seeing my story through their eyes. It's really just a great process. It's so in tune. I mean, without one, there wouldn't be the other. Neither side is more important than the other. The writer is important, but the reader is important. If you didn't have the readers, there'd be nobody to read your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a journey. It really is. I've said this for a long time. Writing, storytelling is a journey that we're taking together, and I'm proud that I've met a lot of amazing people and made some really good friends along the way.
And you're enjoying that journey, and you got friends,
Absolutely.
man. I like that mindset. I like the attitude. They're not fans; they're friends. Look at that, humble guy. Like someone with that personality, like you deserve, D.A. Roberts. You deserve, like you definitely deserve the wide readership. Like you definitely deserve that sort of attention. It's weird how sometimes the assholes somehow seem to rise to the top very easily. But they're assholes. They'll fake being nice, but they're assholes. Like they hate their fans or they talk bad about them, whatever, behind their back. But it's like, you got to be genuine. You got to be true. You got to be you. Otherwise, people just see through it.
I went to a convention. This is probably 25, 30 years ago. And I won't say who the writer was. It was a literary convention I went to. I'm not going to say where it was or who the writer was because I'm not going to cast aspersions on anybody. That's just not the kind of guy I am. But I went to see this particular writer because I was a huge fan of his. And there was a pretty big line. People were waiting in line. And there was a girl in front of me in line, and we kind of struck up a conversation. And when she got to the front of the line, she pulled out a book out of her bag, which was one of the books he'd written. And it was old and clearly had been read a number of times. And she wanted to get her favorite copy signed, and he threw a fit, cussed the girl out, said he wasn't signing anything that she didn't buy at the table, just went nuts. And at that point I was done. I didn't want his autograph. I didn't want his books. Haven't read his books since. And I walked away from his table shaking my head. And I told myself, I said, because even then I wanted to be a writer. I just hadn't written anything of substance. I said, if that ever happens to me, that I will not be that guy. Well, I got to put that to the test just a few years ago.
Oh my God!
My wife and I did it.
I would love to be the guy. To be that author. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, my wife and I were doing a show here locally. This was about 3 years ago, and a lady comes up to the table and she says, "I was wanting to get you to sign a book. I hope you don't mind. I brought mine from home." And I said, "Oh no, I don't mind at all." My Ragnarok Rising books, my zombie series, the series was out at the time. And I had changed publishers a number of years before.
That's right.
Through some problems with the publisher I won't go into. But That's fine. Takes out one of the original first cover of the first book. And this book has been through hell. I mean, the spine's all splayed. The book that won't hardly stay shut. Clearly, this book has been read a lot. she's like, I hope you don't mind, but my sister's read it, my mother's read it, my grandmother's read it. We've all just shared this book. And I'm like, and she was so scared I was going to be mad. And I took the book from her and looked at it. I'm like, honey, look at this thing. Holy crap. This thing has been read. This is what a book is for.
Yeah.
And she was,
that's it.
I said, this is the greatest. So not only did I sign it, I gave her a t-shirt and some stickers, and she was so moved. She bought new copies of everything that was on the table. And I was just ecstatic that she loved that book so much. That book was the pages were about all but coming out of that book. It had been read that much. I was just ecstatic to see that. To me, it was vindication.
Right? I mean, because that right there, it's no longer just your book that she read your book. She loves your book. Her whole family loves.
Clearly, she'd read it
book
many times.
Right. You signing that is you pretty much telling her that, yes, you are a #1 fan. And then
it was huge.
Gonna do what? Buy everything else up, man. That right.
Yeah, she bought the new covers. She wanted everything, all the new ones, because she wanted to retire that one. I'm like, yeah, definitely that would serve its purpose. She's like, I'm sorry, it's in bad shape. I'm like, don't apologize. That is fantastic. That is what that book was for.
I'll sign it. You find a way to preserve it, okay? And here's another copy of that book, and I'll sign that one too.
Exactly.
That's. Man, I would love to be in that position too. I mean, this is just that'd be so great. But I think every author would.
My wife knew the story about the author years before that I'd seen that had a heart attack, and not a heart attack, had an absolute meltdown because he wouldn't sign a book that someone brought to the table. And I turned and looked at her and I go, "That guy could kiss my ass."
Right.
Sorry for my French.
Hey, no, I normally cuss a lot more on this show.
I've been trying to hold back, so I didn't know if I was afraid to break the barrier.
Oh, no, this is not a family-friendly podcast, no.
Okay,
no
good, outstanding.
So it's been 3 months since you've been on. D.A. Roberts, how has your brand improved? What are some changes since that time?
Well, as we discussed a little bit on the last show, back in February, I injured my lower back. The prognosis has not really been good. They're not going to be able to repair it surgically, so we're looking at other options at the moment. So the last 7-8 months now, I've been laid up. I can't walk very far. I can't lift anything. I'm not saying this for sympathy or anything. Not at all. It's just an explanation of my situation, and I will continue to get through it one way or the other. But in that time, I've been able to spend a lot of time at the computer, a lot of time on my laptop. So in the last 8 months, I've released 6 novels. I've been able to just
repeat
write.
That in the last how many months?
Last 8 months, I've released 6 novels.
8 months.
All around the 75,000 word mark. And that's where all these ideas have come from. I mean, most authors that do it. I mean, when I was working full time, I was lucky to do a book a year because I had to find time to do it. But when you're looking for anything to keep your mind occupied, and you don't want to watch TV because I'm not much on watching television, I found myself spending 8 to 10 hours a day just working on manuscripts, and I was fortunate that those manuscripts would just flow, and as soon as I sent one to the editor, I was immediately working on the next one. And so by the time we got the edits done, I was already halfway through the next manuscript. So we were really fortunate. I've had a lot of good help. My best friend Steve Monrodis, if he's out there, hey Steve, he's been a huge help. My friend Josh has been a fantastic help. It's been a really great time for me as a writer, even though this injury has kept me from doing what's been in my blood for the last 20 years. It's really fueled my passion, and I've wanted to be a full-time writer, to be just that writer, be a writer since I was a kid, and the injury has literally been a curse and a blessing.
Yeah, sounds like that.
I can't walk like I did. I can't lift anything, but I can still write, and my mind's still sharp. So as long as I've got that going for me, I'm going to continue to produce books. And I've been really, really fortunate that as these series are growing, and it's changed my brand. Because a year ago, I was mostly known as the guy that wrote the zombie series, The Ragnarok Rising. A lot of people just thought of me as a zombie author. But by expanding into cryptids, at the moment, I've got 3 series running simultaneously. I've got the Apex Predator series, I've got the Lakeview Man series, and I've got Codename Wild Hunt, with a possible 4th series in the works that I don't want to go too much into right now. It's still kind of in the formulative phases, and a couple other projects on the background. But I've been really, really lucky that the creativity is just flowing, and I'm able to bounce ideas off solid people. I'm getting to talk to some amazing people like Clint, and these it's like things just fell together for a reason.
Seems like that.
I didn't take the injury well, because I've always been a very hard charging alpha type personality. Go out, solve the problem, meet it head on. So when I first was injured, I took it kind of hard, but I found another direction. Instead of letting it beat me, I found a direction I can still move forward, and I hit that with everything I had. And it's expanded the brand. It's expanded my name. It's changed me from Officer Roberts or Sergeant Roberts. It's changed me from that to full-time DA Roberts. And when I can go out in public, because I everywhere I go in this town, most of the people that know me from uniforms. But when people start recognizing me for the books, I'll know I've done something.
Oh wow! So even people in your town notice you as the author, D.A. Roberts.
On occasion, most of the people that know me still know me from the uniform. But I'm hoping that with the new books out, the new series out, that changes, because it's who I am. I think it's who I was meant to be all along.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I do really like that you were able to find a way to channel what happened to you, and I figured this much. You didn't even have to say it, but I totally get you when you say, like, in the very beginning of this accident, this injury, that, you're pretty hard on yourself, and it could have went in a totally different direction. It could have been consuming a lot of TV, could have been moping about what could have been, and I guess just falling into various vices, drinking, just giving up on life. But no, you channel that into a more positive energy, more positive outlet, and look at you. You produced, what was it? Correct. What's 8 novels?
6 books.
Six books.
6 in the last 8 months.
Okay, that's quite a bit. That's pretty good. I talk with people that, and not shaming them, they have 1 book a year, and that's fine. It happens.
That's what I was doing before I got hurt.
Right. And I get it, people have to balance work, life, responsibilities, but I like your positive outlook. It's like you said, things just sort of fell into place and are kind of working. Sorry that they couldn't take care of your back with the surgery and all, but
well, whatever route that ends up taking, whether it gets better, it gets worse, it's not going to change the fact that I'm not going to stop. If they can fix the problem and I can return to duty, then I'm sure I will do that in some capacity. But I will never stop writing, because it's who I am.
That's right. Now, with COVID, not really any conventions right now, right? Like any conventions planned? Probably not.
I don't have any at the moment. We had a couple of guest spots lined up this year, but with the COVID, those conventions were canceled. I was on the alternate list as a alternate guest for a large convention that I probably won't mention, because I don't want to upset them. Okay. If I can get on the alternate list again. But if they're going to have it next year, I'm hoping I can get bumped up from the alternate list. I'm not exactly, a household name. I mean, I'm no Stephen King. So he's the benchmark for most authors. I mean, anybody in horror, that's the king of the genre.
Okay.
No pun intended. But I would like to reach that level of an audience. I'm I'm not concerned about the act about anything else. I would just like to know that my books are reaching that many people, and that would be amazing.
Right.
But to be able to do these bigger shows, you get to actually connect with people, and I enjoy doing these shows. I love doing the shows because I get to meet the people that have read the books. I get to sit down and talk or have coffee with people, and again, I get to experience my story through their eyes, which is just truly amazing because sometimes they see things that even I didn't realize I'd included. They see things in ways that I would never have thought of. Envision characters and as they see them as a different person than I envisioned when I created the character.
Right.
And that's the whole beauty of it is how we both experience the same story in different ways.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. I like that too. Now, for the sake of time, I am going to wrap up here. But before I do, plug your book. Tell everyone where they can get it and where they can get your other books as well. Okay.
The current book, the most recent release, is Codename Wild Hunt, Curse of the Wendigo. It was just released earlier this week. And it and all of my other titles, the Apex Predator series, the Ragnarok Rising Saga, which is a 10-book zombie series, the Codename Wild Hunt series, and the Lakeview Man series are all available through my publisher, J. Ellington Ashton Press. You can find them all on my website, which is at daroberts.net. They're all on Amazon in Kindle and in print. We're working on getting them out in audio. It's kind of a slower process with dealing with the ACX, but we're going to be soon getting those out in audio as well. And you can find me on Facebook at D.A. Roberts Author. Follow me on Twitter at D.A. Roberts Author. I'm on Instagram as well. So come check out my books. Hopefully you'll enjoy them, and I would love to hear from you. And if you're an author out there and you would like to ask me any questions, I am more than happy to help. I'm not on the tier of a Stephen King, but I'm more than willing to share with what I know that got me where I'm at today, which is a lot different than I was even a year ago. It's amazing, the process. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I enjoy every step of it. Well, except for the editing. Editing sucks.
Yeah.
But
that's usually what I do.
I enjoy the process.
Editing and formatting.
I love doing it. The editing's like taking a hatchet to your own hand. It sucks.
Yeah. But you sound like you are a very genuine, helpful person. There needs to be more people like you. Hopefully people do reach out to you. I think some will actually, probably. But yeah, D.A. Roberts, thank you so much for coming on Hard Talk Radio to talk about your new book, to talk about the Wendigo. Learned a lot. Now, we'll be wrapping up the show here. Guys, ladies, who made it this far, press the like button, share, subscribe. Y'all take it easy.